Mike is saying that 72-bed rehab deal I was looking at was going out of business. It was just the real estate for sale, not the business. Okay, interesting. Well, thank you for the update. First of all, the fact that you're out there talking to a business, that's good, right? You're out there, you're making progress, that's good. Now you just need to talk to more of those, as many of those as you can. If the business was going out of business, then it's up to you. Do you want to get involved in it or not? Like, you could probably close the deal for $1. You can tell them, yeah, I'll take the deal from you. I'll take the business from you and I'll take care of it. And you can literally just pay them $1 just for, legally, you have to have some kind of a transaction of value to move assets around. So you can tell them, hey, I'll take the business from you. And maybe that's something you want to do and try to turn it around. Because if there's a good potential, I mean, why not? Especially if they'll be nice with you on the real estate, on the lease, right? If it's the same owner, you can tell them, look, give me, 3 months to try and recover and turn around the business without paying anything for rent. And after the 3 months, I'll start to pay. Hopefully by then we'll have some cash flow, have some profits. And perhaps even if I'm able to turn around the business, you'll get even 5, 10, 20, 30% of the upside, right? So there's no lose for them. Plus, I mean, I assume that for them to sell the real estate right now, I mean, it needs to be someone very specific to buy such a real estate, right? Someone to get in and actually get value from that. Otherwise, it's going to be a nightmare just for all the renovations that they'll probably need to do if it's not someone with a rehab operations. So something to think about and give it a try. You want to unmute you?
It seems like they just want to sell the real estate, and they want to sell the real estate for $9 million. But I like the position you're taking on that, and I guess at the end of the day, it's a negotiation, and they might be willing to do something like that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you got to have a conversation and see what would be a win-win, right? Ask them, hey, what do you want to do? What is your ideal scenario? Okay, and if you can't find a real estate investor, would you be open for other opportunities? Cool. What kind of opportunities would you be open to? Have you ever thought about potentially giving an operator to run the business for you and try to turn it around and maybe bring some of the experience that they have in different sectors and try to bring some of those innovations into your business? And in worst case scenario, you can always try and sell the business in the meantime, or I'll tell you even more. You know what? Let's get a deal done in the next 3 months. If you really want to de-risk it for them, tell them, look, I'll let you try and sell the real estate. Anyway, if you can get a buyer for $9 million, cool, sell it to them. But in the next 3 months, if I'm able to turn around the business and make it profitable, I want to then list it from you, and I'll even give you an upside of the deal. So you completely de-risk it for them, because it's probably going to take them a while to find a buyer for the real estate anyway. So you can tell them, look, next 3 months, let me turn it around. Let me do my best. Let me buy the business for $1 from you. Let me do what I can do. If the business can survive and turn back up, you'll get 20% of the upside. And if not, then feel free to find a buyer.
Yeah, and I guess at the end of the day, they could always sell the real estate regardless, and then we would just release it from them.
As well, 100%.
Yeah, the one thing she said was, when I spoke to her, she said that she has a partner, and the reason they're selling it is because it didn't work out with the partner. But then I dove into that deeper, and she said that they were partners for 20 years. So that part didn't make sense to me. It kind of seemed like an excuse. And then I asked her questions like how the business was doing and everything. It was going downhill, and I think because it was going downhill, maybe her and the other partner, they weren't agreeing on things, and they just decided to sell the real estate. That makes it a little bit more tricky, since it's not just one person, but it's two parties, I suppose.
100%. So what's the question here?
I guess no question really, but it sounds like it's gonna be trickier to negotiate because it's two partners, and it sounds like they don't want to work together anymore, and I think that's why they want to sell it, to just get money for it and go their separate ways.
I think you don't know. Have an open conversation with both of them and see what they each want. You don't assume before you talk to them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Have a conversation with them separately. See what they want. See and ask them the same questions I just mentioned to you. Like, see if they'd be open to other opportunities. If they would be open to other opportunities, see what they are. And if any of the opportunities that be open to, you can get some value from it, then go for it.
Yeah, I like that. I want to put a team together, since I don't know anything about rehabs. I mean, the plan for whatever I buy and get into is to put a team together and then roll them up, and then probably eventually exit. I think I would have to do that before I purchase. I mean, the reason I came up on this deal is because I've just been talking to, business owners and maybe some like experts or COOs and things like that, some M&A guys from larger companies that they quit, and then so they were able to share information, and that's how I came across this deal. I've been just doing research to find out what industry to get into.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Dude, so is your 72 bedroom rehab, is that an apartment complex or just like single family homes?
No, so it's a facility, like a big facility. I think it's 12 acres. It has a few separate buildings.
Okay. I mean, you could probably go to a REIT and actually get an exit out of them after you rehab them. I don't think you need partnerships. The only thing that you would probably need is like a project coordinator and people that actually know about, I guess, construction, so you can actually like get subcontractors about this.
I don't think it sounds like it doesn't need any renovations or anything. I wouldn't need that. I would just need people because I have no idea how to run a rehab. I mean, I guess I have ideas of what to do, but I just don't know. So what makes sense to me is to bring in like advisors with equity, or where they get equity as part of the deal.
Okay.
Mike, so I do a little bit of this, actually quite a bit. I'm actually a real estate guy first and coming into this business and M&A side of things. You mentioned, on one hand, you mentioned you don't need rehabbers or you don't need to do stuff, but you need to do some rehabbing on it. So is there a step up? Are you converting it from one thing to another? Like right now, I'm in the middle of some hotel conversions to apartment complex type stuff. So what are you looking to do with this?
So I don't know when you came on, because I think you were at the beginning of the call, so I don't know if you heard my conversation. But no, I talked to a business owner, and they're trying to sell a rehab facility, a 72-bed rehab facility. But I thought at first, when I got the phone call last week, I thought it was a business for sale with cash flow. But it's not the business, it's just the real estate that's for sale. It seemed like a good deal, obviously, but because they want $9 million for it. And a 72-bed rehab should do, I think, around $3 million in revenue a month if it's full. So that's why it seemed like a good deal. And I knew something was wrong with it before I learned more about it, but it's just real estate that they want to sell.
Oh, I see. Rehab as in rehabbing patients, not remodeling the facility, but
Correct.
rehabbing patients. Correct. Okay. Sounds like a cash flower.
Yeah, it definitely could be.
Awesome
stuff. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you guys for your thoughts. What else? What everyone else been up to? And I'll see some stuff in the chat. So first question is it always better for the seller to stay on board for a period of time? I would say the answer is 100% yes, because by definition, the seller knows more about the business than you. Obviously, you want to have some kind of a transition for you to understand how that business is operating. Then you're saying if he doesn't want to, is that a considered red flag? I mean, to some extent, yes. The question is, for me, when I'm hearing something like that, for me, just another thing that I can push in the negotiation, another leverage in negotiation, right? So if someone is telling me, yeah, I need to run out of the business tomorrow as soon as I sell it, then I'm like, okay, cool, something's going on here, and I want to understand what's going on here, right? And if it's something that is a concern, then guess what? It's going to reflect the offer. I mean, if he's not going to give me confidence as the buyer that the business will continue to operate well, then I'll make sure to represent it in the offer, in an earnout structure, in a lower payment terms. That's your, way of showing, hey, this is what I want happening here. But then you're asking, and if he decides to stay, how does it get paid? However, you usually cash, but in terms of structuring it, it's kind of like, you can structure it as a consulting payment. That's very common. Yeah, I would just keep it simple, consulting, but that's something that you probably want to figure out with him and your tax advisors and his tax advisor and lawyers and whatnot, and what's the best way to structure it for tax purposes for him and you. Yeah, and then revaluation. Okay, cool. So that's Yeah. What else, guys? What else you been up to?
So I usually when I'm talking to buyers, to sellers, the one thing that I always get stuck on is the proof of funds. And I was looking at the videos about it, and it says that it might just be because I'm showing red flags, and I would like to know, how do I actually go about around that?
Yeah, so the easiest way to get proof of funds, if you never bought a business before or can show proof of funds, is as soon as you get access to your first financial statements, go out there and start to talk to banks, financial institutions, and investors, and receive proof of funds or expressions of interest or term sheets from them. which can be used as proof of funds. That's kind of like the easiest way to actually have something to show people if you have an investor that will invest in you that can help you. But to be honest, for me at this point, if I'm talking to a broker, I'm just almost like acting like an asshole if someone is not showing me information about a deal. Because imagine if you were a multi-billionaire, imagine if you were Warren Buffett right now and you would talk to a broker about potential deal. Would you waste time of like talking about proof of funds? No, you'd be like, dude, what's going on here? Are you wasting my time here? I want to look at the deal and see if the deal even makes sense to start with. And if the deal makes no sense, then I'm not going to give you any offer. But the way to give those brokers confidence is to tell them, look, as soon as I make an offer, if the business makes sense, then I'll show you all the proof of funds that you want. But right now, I don't even know if I like the deal. I don't know if my investors are going to like the deal. I don't know if any financial institution or bank that I'm going to talk to is going to like the deal or not. And you're not right now wasting my time on proof of funds before I even know that I want to do any business with you, right? So I would say something like that in a more polite version, at least to start with.
Okay.
It all comes down to your tonality, the confidence that you have, and your certainty around getting access to whatever you need. And also a lot of issues that I see with that process is a lot of people just try to overcome that via email. It's not enough. Like for me at this point, probably it doesn't matter because people can quickly Google me and see whatnot about me, and I have a cool domain and shit like that. But if you don't have that, then you just need to have a lot of confidence, and you need to speak to them on the phone or meet them face to face. Otherwise, emails is not gonna, it's not gonna be enough. I mean, just put yourself in their shoes, in brokers' shoes. They want to make sure that they're talking to a credible buyer, and unless you can give them that confidence, they don't waste their time, especially because a lot of them are very, very much lazy, right? Like all of us to some extent. So just keep that in mind. Understand that, it's got to be win-win for everyone. And unless you can show that you are a capable buyer.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, Omar is asking, when or how can seller financing be considered as equity or down payment in the deal? I understand that a lot of lenders don't consider seller financing as equity. Yeah, so there's no black or white rules here, to be honest. It really depends on the lender and their appetite to give you money. But some of them will consider potentially part of the seller financing as equity, and then will just demand less from you as the buyer. And I didn't really see anything specific other than the fact that it just really depends on the lender and what kind of criteria and what's their appetite specifically in that specific period that you're talking to them. And also depends on the person. I can tell you that some banks that I talk to or institutions that I talk to, and then friends of mine or colleagues of mine or people that I know talk to them, got a very different deal, sometimes on the same deal. Why? Because it depends on who's the person that's going to take that loan, right? And how much they trust him and how much they see him as a credible buyer and someone who can take that business and do something with it, or at least not destroy it.
I have a question. For bank finance, what's typically the deal size that they'll finance? Like, what's too big of a deal? Is like 10 million on the big, like too big? Or
there's no don't think about it as too big, because some institutions will do bigger deals. There's always an institution that will do a bigger deal. Like, I mean, there are some of the biggest banks out there, they'll do multi-billion-dollar deals. So, I mean, don't put limits on yourself. At the same time, understand that the bigger the deal is, you'll just need to come up with more credibility, more equity potentially, more of the nuances at the same time. The biggest deal that I remember was a 40 million a year business that got with no money down whatsoever, no equity, no personal guarantees, nothing, just with a financial institution. But it was an amazing deal, amazing company, but nothing garnished. No equity was needed, no personal guarantee. And you don't see it a lot with even smaller businesses, right? So it really, really depends on a lot of nuances and specifics in the deal and the team. But yeah, I would just say don't limit yourself. Find a business that you want and do whatever you can to move forward on it. And if you're really committed to the deal, you'll find the investors. If needed, you'll find the operators. But it comes down, I think the biggest struggle a lot of entrepreneurs have is they don't have clarity on what is the deal for them. And a lot of times knowing what is the deal for you just comes after looking at enough deals. And most people are just not committed to look at enough deals. Like, you looked at one deal and it's great. I mean, you started with the momentum mic. You looked at one deal, you had conversations with them. Now you talk to a few hundreds. And I promise you'll have more clarity on what you want and also more confident. I'm sure now you got so much more confident of being involved and being part of the process, like talking to business owners, potentially a broker. I don't know where that deal, or yeah, it sounds like it came from from your network, but that's how it works. It's just more reps, more confidence in the process. And also, if you are sticking to one sector, you'll start to get to know people in the sector. You'll start to get the lingo of the sector. You'll start to get introduced to potential financial institutions and investors in the sector. And the more you're focused, the more you're doing your reps, the more you're consistent, the more chances you have when you find the best deals for you.